but it will only happen with your help. The next candidate I have the honor to introduce is from Louisiana, and many of you know her because many of you helped last time around. Faye Williams. Heartbreaker in the last election, and it's up to us to make sure that it doesn't happen again. 51-49. We all in this room can make up that difference. And her campaign is a campaign of inclusion. She has planned a tremendous registration drive to improve the participation of previously underrepresented people in her district. And she has the support of my colleagues in Congress and soon to be her colleagues. The Black Caucus is fully committed, as well as other progressive members of Congress, to bringing her. I know Curtis Collins wants her there very badly. The people in the 5th Congressional District of San Francisco informed me that Faye Williams, the next Congresswoman from Louisiana,
talked about walking backwards in high-heeled shoes. Let me just say to you, I have been running backwards in high-heeled shoes. Indeed, if there ever were odds in a campaign when I started out to run in 1986, when I got ready to run, that I would be considered a tramp, a communist, or gay, but I told her you never told me they were going to do all three in one campaign. Add to that the fact that I grew up in a single-family home and I was an abused spouse. I'd lost 3 campaign managers for sad circumstances, 2 for health reasons and 1 for racial reasons. And then I had what was called the most vicious right-wing campaign run against me in the closing moments when I was leading by 20 points, even having the Air Force hijack me and the final members of my campaign, where I was forced down over a military base and held up at gunpoint, 30 or 40 of them with tanks and guns, and said to be threatening to the military. They had the guns, but I was threatening.
Federal level, women at the local level, and how very important it is to remember our daughters. I find that the greatest persuasive arguments that you have with men politicians now and elected officials about the bills you wish to pass and the programs you wish to push is because they're beginning to understand what's happening to their daughters. And we know, too, that the other night I knew exactly where she was coming from, and so did the rest of America. What a wonderful person. In addition to the content of her message, have you ever seen anyone as in control of a crowd and of a television audience? And it gives me tremendous pleasure to salute the daughter, who's a successful daughter of my friends Mary Landrieu, and to present to you that remarkable leader who has sustained her leadership role for so many years and has only eagle's wings from now on to soar wherever she pleases, Ann Bridges.
pictures, and then you got to move because these people came to see me and Francis Denny neck cream this morning. So, whatever shots you get them straight on. Well, I'm just delighted to be here, and I'm so pleased to get to see for real a lot of these candidates for Congress who I have seen in my Women's Political Caucus newsletter and in my Now newsletters, and wish them well, because they'll be a great addition to the United States Congress. I have to tell you that I find all of the attention a little embarrassing. I know who I am. But I remember years and years ago that I made a speech somewhere and there was a lot of adulation, a lot of clapping and cheering and everything. And I turned to Bella and I said, Bella, how do you handle that kind of thing? And Bella said, well, you just lean back and enjoy it. My gosh, this row up here, it looks like old times again. I figure one of these days when I'm in a nursing home, I'll look up and you'll all be there. We'll all have buttons all over us. Well, let's see, I need to tell you a story, don't I? You heard the story about Mae West. I know my Texas friends have. Mae West walks in and sees her friend standing there before a long mirror, and she has got on the most magnificent mink coat you've ever seen. I mean, it just spreads to everywhere. And Mae said, oh, honey, she said, you just look gorgeous. And her friend said, well, Mae, I met a man with $10,000. And Mae said, well, you really look magnificent. And about a year passes, and the friend runs into Mae at a party, and there is Mae in more pelts than you can count. I mean, it is the biggest coat, it is everywhere. And her friend says, well, Mae, you really look magnificent. Did you meet a man with $10,000? And Mae said, no, honey, I met 10,000 men with a dollar. I hope one of these days I'll get to be the governor of Texas. But I want you to hold back. I don't want you to use your energy up on that now. We've got a job to do in November 1st. And then that race in 1990, we'll be asking for your help. I will not be the first governor if I make it, because we had a woman governor before. She was last in office in 1933. Her name was Ma Ferguson. And Ma was called that because her husband's name was Paul. And Paul Ferguson was the governor of Texas. And he got to messing around like some male office holders do, and was impeached and thrown out of office. So Ma took his place. And the most important thing for you to remember about Ma was that when confronted with the question of whether or not children in the public school systems of Texas could speak Spanish or not, Ma said, if the English language was good enough for Jesus Christ, it's good enough for the students. And I tell you that story so you can see what progress we've made. When my mother was born in Texas, the only Texans who could not vote by law were idiots, imbeciles, aliens, the insane, and women. And in 1980, years after we finally achieved that precious right to vote, the percentage of women voting finally equaled the percentage of men voting, and every year since then we have voted in greater numbers than men. And we see more and more women move into public office. In the last 10 years, we've almost doubled our numbers in the state legislatures, and we've doubled the number of women who serve as mayors in large cities. Because basically our history has been one of those gaining credibility at the lower level office. Most of us starting on school boards or city councils or commissioners' courts, and somebody said, well, you know, she didn't foul that up too bad. Maybe we will let her move ahead a little bit. We also learned in the process how to raise money so that we could take on these bigger races, and so that we had the credibility in which the people with the big bucks were willing to give it to us. Our representation at the local levels of government and on school boards, city councils, and even in counties is now just commonplace. And it means that our future is in the pipeline of those women who are presently serving in local office, because you are going to see more and more of them. And serve in public office ourselves, but we have learned the practical side of the political business. I literally can remember when I lived in Dallas some years ago, there was literally only one woman in the entire state of Texas who specialized in public relations and campaign management. And I can tell you now that we have dozens of them, because I've heard from most of them in the last But the best part of it is that they are there, and they are giving campaigns a female perspective, instead of being guided by those who cannot always. And of course now we have a woman running a presidential election. When we were the petitioners, when we were seeking the ear of presidential candidates, hoping that they would give us a brief moment, little attention, little consideration, and now they're coming to us and soliciting our support, asking our advice. I will never forget, as long as I live, and I really consider it a turning point in my political history, to be invited to St. Paul, Minnesota, by Mondale to ask women, I mean only women in that room, what he felt, that we felt about his selection of the vice president. It was unprecedented in history, and I really think it changed the course of the attitude of being an insider in Democratic politics. And I mentioned those few things to you, although our numbers are far too small in Congress, and we all recognize that. And while we have a great distance to go, I think it is important every once in a while to measure how much you have accomplished, because you need to have that measurement to keep the enthusiasm and keep chinking at that wall before it will finally come tumbling down. I think the press is asking more than anything else is, what is the difference in this convention and say the convention 4 years ago and 4 years before? for that. And the nice thing is that we have reached the point that we really want to reach, and that is that we are mainstream. We are no longer the two-headed cow. We are no longer the one woman in the room, the freak in the sideshow. We are now